This is William Albright. I am a private investigator. We are here in Fort Smith, Arkansas, investigating the case of James Holmes. As you can see, he lives in a very picturesque and scenic area just south of Fort Smith. We will go and approach his home here in a second, but this is the overall environment, very picturesque and scenic.
Okay, take it easy.
We are at 16809 Bear Creek Heights.
Bear Hollow Heights.
Bear Hollow Heights. And this is Mr. James Holmes. He, as I was saying, lives in a very picturesque area just south of Fort Smith, Arkansas. There we have Max. Max is the brother to the victim, the exotic cat that was killed. As you can see, Max looks very much like a domesticated tabby, but he is actually an exotic Bengal. James, can you describe his variety exactly?
Well, it's a Bengal cat. They're derived from a Asian leopard, actually. I have a book on them, and I have gone through the book, but I don't know as much as I should, I guess, about them. They're very different animals. They're high energy. They've just got more energy than your regular typical house cat, and they're far more athletic. They have an extra fold of skin down here, which makes them run very fast. They can get up to 25 pounds, and they can run up to 30 miles an hour. And pretty much outrun any dog. They call him the cat that thinks they're a dog. He meows like a cat, but every once in a while he barks like a dog.
My name is William Albright. I'm a private investigator. I'm in the residence of Mr. James Holmes. Mr. Holmes, I would like you to tell your own story to anybody that cares to look at this video. But I would like for you to start 15 years ago. What happened 15 years ago when you were assaulted in this very house?
Well, 15 years ago, I was home with, basically, I had the flu. I was asleep in this chair that you're sitting in, recliner. TV was going about midnight. And a fellow come busting in the front door, unlocked. My door was unlocked. You never had the need to lock my door much out here anyway, with all the neighbors right here. Everybody keeps an eye on everybody's place. Although they were all in bed this particular night. He come in and walked over and just hit me so hard it knocked me completely out of the chair. Then he picked me up and we scuffled all around the room here several times. He just overpowered me. He was much younger, much heavier, taller. He was no match. I was no match.
You were practically killed in that.
I was nearly killed. Yes. My head was caved in very bad. I was drug outside. After I was submissive, I was drug outside and stomped on out there, and then he got in his vehicle and attempted to run over me, and I made it just up on the porch just in time, and that's when he backed out and left. I come in, called 911. When all the emergency vehicles got here, they found me unconscious here in the living room floor, and they come in, the paramedics come in and worked with me, and they got me aroused, and so I could tell them what happened. At that point, a small town police officer south of here pulled this fellow over, and he was covered with blood, and the small town police officer panicked. You know, he started getting on the radio and calling. And the sheriff deputies, I still remember, they were right here in the living room when the call went out, and they told him to hold the guy, place him under arrest. They think that he's a suspect here. in this, you know, because I described the truck and he was driving a similar vehicle.
Now, as a result of the assault, you lost a career, you lost your finances, and what happened to the man that assaulted you?
He spent one night in jail.
Got probation on the deal.
Got probation. I was in and out of the hospital for 6 months, and I have had problems ever since, and medical problems. It was just a nightmare. You know, I lost my career. They wouldn't. I was a licensed paramedic, and the state wouldn't renew my license due to my injuries, and so I had to go on disability. Filed bankruptcy. I had $60,000 worth of medical bills. It was just a nightmare.
Let me interrupt and fast forward basically to the incident at hand. February 10th of 2010, this year, about 2 months ago, you had an exotic cat. Tell briefly as you can what led up to this incident with the Sebastian County Sheriff's Office. Your cat was killed, beaten to death, and what led up to that?
I had a small cat show up on my back porch and its throat was ripped open.
Not your cat, it was
Not
just
my
a stray
cat. It was a stray cat. I'd never seen it before.
You called animal control.
I called Sebastian County Sheriff Animal Control. They initially denied my request. They said they just don't do cats, and I begged them,
You
please,
insisted
I
they
insisted
do their job.
as a taxpayer that they come and help this animal and get it to the Humane Society or something. Because I didn't want to handle it. I was afraid to. You know, I could be rabies. Maybe a possum got a hold of it. Its trachea and windpipe was severed, and it was cold during the time. And when it would breathe, steam would come out its throat.
Animal control finally did come out.
Animal control finally did come out. Young fella, sheriff deputy, come up, and I let him in the house, and we walked through the house, and I took him to the back where this cat had been. Miraculously, the cat wasn't there. He told me he believed me, and he would have to come back and set a trap or something.
While he was here, he got a look at your exotic cat.
When he walked back through the house, my 23-month-old Bingo was stretched out across the chair there. He was a very large cat, weighed 16 pounds at the time, very tall and exotic looking.
What did he ask you about your cat?
He asked me if, he replied that he thought there was an ordinance about exotic animals in the county, and I had never heard of one, and I told him I'd never heard of that, you know. I'm sure other people have these types of animals, but
Did he ask you
he
about
wanted
the shot records?
to make sure that I had vaccination records, and I had to show them to him, and I suspected that he was actually wanting to confiscate my cat.
In any event, was it that day that your cat turned up missing on the 10th
It was
of
that
February?
night,
That
actually.
night, okay.
When he went out, and the only place he ever went was in the backyard, and I wished I'd have looked there first, but since something suspicious obviously went on, I looked everywhere else first.
So you went looking for your cat.
I thought he
that
might have
was
gotten
missing.
hit by a car out here or on the road or something like that. He got straight, wandered off.
You finally found your cat in the backyard.
I did finally, late
that.
that night after dark. I had the flashlight, and I was looking in my backyard, in my cat's backyard. People don't own cats, cats own people. But I come up on his body, and he was laying out in the backyard with his head caved in, and a bloody 2x4 laying right beside him.
You suspect, although there have been no charges filed, but you suspect that the animal control person is behind this.
That would be my number one suspect. Of course, I'm not a police detective. I don't know, but he was the last one here to have contact with my animal, and it was a little suspicious.
After you saw your animal dead, you called 911 to report a crime.
Yes.
Is that true?
Animal cruelty is a felony in the state of Arkansas.
Okay. You were pretty upset.
I was very upset. I might as well have found my son
Right.
out there.
Briefly describe the interchange that you had with the 9/11 personnel, and then later with the sheriff that called you in response.
The 911 operator, they took my information and said they would have a deputy call me. A few minutes later, the deputy did call, and he wasn't very courteous at all. In fact, he started questioning me if I was crazy, am I drunk? He said, why do you want to make a report about a cat? It's just a cat. And I said, no, it's not just a cat. This is an $800 bingo cat.
James, I want to make something very clear. That night, had you been drinking?
I had not had a drop to drink.
Okay.
I'd been crying. I hadn't cried that hard since my mom passed away.
Would you describe yourself as a social drinker?
I do occasionally. I do occasionally. I like to have a nice imported beer, or yeah.
Okay, very good.
I have
But that night you had
none.
no alcohol whatsoever. Okay, I'd like you to continue then with the sequence of events. You had an exchange with the deputy sheriff.
The deputy got very snippy with me on the phone, and I don't know why, but I got a little snippy back with him. Maybe said some